Hello and welcome to my channel Keen Reads. My name is Jared and today I have a sci-fi special for you. So sci-fi is a genre that I usually don't read, but of the various genres of genre fiction, it is the one that I'm probably the most well versed in. I don't read a lot of mystery, fantasy, romance, other things like that, but I do read some sci-fi. I have read some sci-fi, let me put it that way. I have read some fantasy too. I've read The Lord of the Rings and The Silmarillion, and that's about it in the fantasy. But I would say I'm a little bit more well-versed when it comes to sci-fi, and something spurred something in my soul last week, or over the last 2 weeks or so. And I picked up some sci-fi books that I just found in a store, and then that got me thinking a little bit more about sci-fi, and I kind of got the itch to dive a little bit deeper than I have before. So I got some books that we're going to go through. We will see when I actually read them. I'll try to get to some of them this summer, I think. But I want to give you a little bit of background first on what I've read for sci-fi so you know where I'm coming from, and you can maybe give me some recommendations for other sci-fi, because I am definitely not well versed in it. It is an area that I am not as familiar with as I am other types of literature. So actually, what got me back into reading, though, was Ender's Game, which I read my senior year of high school, and I ended up reading the entire quartet, Ender's Game quartet, right after that. So Ender's Game, Speaker for the Dead, Xenocide, and then Children of the Mind, pretty much back to back. And I just fell in love with those books, and they got me really excited to start reading again, and then I went into like Stephen King and things along those lines. But I kind of strayed from sci-fi for a little bit, and then I kind of gained back into it again when I got into towards the end of undergrad, actually. So I read some Robert Heinlein. I read Stranger in a Strange Land. I read Starship Troopers. I read some Bradbury or Vonnegut. I can't remember who wrote it. The Sirens of Titan. I think that's the name of it. I'm already forgetting. Sorry. What else did I read during this time period? I read Fahrenheit 451. I've read 1984 from when I was in high school. Haven't read Brave New World yet, but I talked about that on my last video, that's actually on my list. So maybe I had a premonition that I was going to be getting into sci-fi soon. And then I've read the Dune series. So I've read Dune, Messiah, Children of Dune, God Emperor of Doom, Dune, and what's the fifth one? Heretics of Dune. I have not read Chapter House of Dune. So I have it. I will read it eventually, but just not the right time. But anyway, so that's, I think, most of the sci-fi that I've read. Actually, no, I've read some more classical sci-fi. So I've read H.G. Wells. I've read The Invisible Man. I have read... oh, crap. I have The Island of Dr. Moreau. I have War of the Worlds. I have read The Invisible Man. And then he has one more sci-fi that is really common that I cannot think of right now, but I read that one too. Because I have 4 and I know I've read 2 of them. And then I've read Jules Verne. So Jules Verne, I think, would fall into this category. So I've read 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, The Mysterious Island, Around the World in 80 Days, Journey to the Center of the Earth. Those were also very early on in my reading career. So I don't think I've read sci-fi purposefully in maybe like 10 years. Something, probably getting close to 10 years since I finished undergrad. So kind of excited to get into an area that I haven't been in for a little bit. So let's dive into the book haul. What kind of spurred me on to do this was I was at a used bookstore, one of my favorites, and I found this. So these nice pulpy looking mass market paperback editions of the Space Trilogy by C.S. Lewis. So C.S. Lewis is one of my favorite authors. I've read most of what he's written. I've read Chronicles of Narnia. I guess that's fantasy that I've read. And then I've read most of his nonfiction, which he's written a lot. But I have read a lot of his. And I've read Till We Have Faces as well, which is not nonfiction, but one of my favorite novels, actually. And I've always kind of had in the back of my mind that I want to read these one day. And I was at a used bookstore and I found them for really cheap. I think they were $1 a piece, and I was like, this is great. So we have really great covers. I just love these editions. So we have Out of Silent Planet. We have Paralandra. I don't know how to say that. And we have That Hideous Strength. So I got all of these for, I think, $3 total. Let me look. Yeah, they were $2 a piece. So, $6 total. Sorry, twice as much as I originally said. But this, and then another book that I got at a new bookstore. So I was in Cleveland last weekend for a concert. And whenever I go to a new city, I try to go to any bookstores. Not that Cleveland's a new city for me. I lived there for a year. But I went to a bookstore I'd never been to when I lived there, and I got another sci-fi book, which is called We by Yevgeny Zamyatin. I don't know Russian. And I'm just in general bad at pronouncing things. Like, there's English words that I am really bad at pronouncing. So apologies for that. But I had heard about this book. I'd seen it on BookTube before, and then I pulled it out. I liked the cover, and then what sold me on it was this quote by Ursula K. Le Guin, who actually I've also read. I've read The Left Hand of Darkness. But the superb translation of the classic dystopian novel, the best single work of science fiction yet written. So that kind of sold me on it. I was like, I got those C.S. Lewis books. I'm going to just go all in, get this bad boy. So I bought this. And then I think AI or the internet my phone was listening and knew that I was on an AI or a sci-fi binge, because I got an advertisement for a box set, even though it didn't come in a box, of one of the classics series of sci-fi. In fact, in 1966, it was named the greatest sci-fi or fantasy series of all time, actually beating out Lord of the Rings. And that is the Foundation series by Isaac Asimov. So I was able to get the whole series. Again, they didn't come in a box, even though it said it was a box set. But this is a series of sci-fi novels. I don't know a ton about them other than they're set in the distant future. It has a lot to do with like physics, I believe. And they were originally published in there were a couple stories published in the 1940s about this world that is the Foundation world, or the Foundation universe, whatever. The universe that these novels take place in. And then in the 1950s, Isaac Asimov published these 3 novels. So I believe these are the first 3. So we have Foundation, Foundation and Empire, and then we have Second Foundation. So you can see on the back, it says, winner of the Hugo Award for Best All-Time Series. Beating out Lord of the Rings. I don't know what else was in the running at the time. It was in 1966, so I don't know. That was before Dune. At least the whole Dune series. Dune might have been out. And then there were some various prequels and sequels that he wrote over the next 30 or so years, up through I think 1993 is when he wrote the last one. So these aren't in any order, but there's Foundation's Edge, Prelude to Foundation, Foundation and Earth, and Forward the Foundation. I really like the editions that I got. They were pretty cheap. I got them used, so maybe that's why they didn't come in a box. But there is a little bit of damage. But that's okay. Happy to have them. And I really think the first 3 novels look pretty short, so I think I'm going to throw those into my TBR for this summer. And try to get through those this summer and really get into some sci-fi. I don't know when I'll read the C.S. Lewis or but I do think I will put these 3 into the rotation. It's also a TV series on Apple TV, I heard. I don't have Apple TV, but I think I might need to, because the list of things on Apple TV that I want to watch keeps growing and growing. But that's enough talking. Thanks for watching. And if there are any must-read sci-fi series or novels that I completely didn't mention, let me know, because I'd really like to, in addition to reading through the book list, or the list of books that I've created for the Western canon, I think this is another area I'd like to be well-versed in, which is sci-fi. So let me know if there's any must-read books that I'm missing. Thanks for watching.